Okay, hi guys and welcome to my tutorial on connectors and cables. Okay, for live sound, lighting, and I have included some AV cables, although by no means all of them because I'm not a massive AV guy. Okay, firstly, this is quite a new one to the sound and lighting industries in fact, but no, not really new at all to the computer world. It's an RJ45. I think this is a Cat 5 cable, category 5. You can also get Cat 6 as well, or Cat 5e. I think it's actually a Cat 5e, probably saying it somewhere. Yep, so that's used for connecting, for lighting it uses to connect networks together for ArtNet nodes, which is very new, quite a new technology anyway, or very, very new that's become mass market. And for audio it's used to connect between Ethernet enabled digital snake. So you can run up to 64 channels bidirectional on a single cable, which is very useful. Not what I use at the moment, although hopefully I'll soon be getting a digital desk. Pretty good. Okay, next, this is not lighting, this is AV and sound mostly. These are RCA connectors. You can also use these, so for sound you would use them like this. You can also get a yellow one that transmits video, which is exactly the same, which you obviously would use for AV. But you can also use these for AV if you're not having a proper PA system. There you go. It's got two connector patches. It's got that bit there and then a bit on the side. Yeah. And that's, you can get that to jack as well, but I've got that. So okay, next I'll do the power cable. It's used a lot. This is it's a 13 amp plug to an IEC connector, which is very useful. You use it to plug pretty much everything. Monitor there, my mixing desk, my graphic EQ, my projector, both my mixers in fact, all my amps, some of my lights. It's very, very useful. Trying to hurry up. Okay, next, this is a jack, full-size jack, and this is an instrument cable. Now it's not always bright blue. I know it is slightly embarrassing. Yeah, these are for plugging guitars in, and also line level signals such as keyboards or keyboards, basically. Yeah. Next, you've got what looks like exactly the same connector. Apart from the fact it's right angled, but that doesn't matter, that makes no difference. But this is a speaker cable, which means it's got much thicker shielding, and it's generally thicker cable, which is good for, it means it's extra conductive. Yeah, it's extra conductive for plugging power speakers. If you see my EPA 150 review, you'll see these cables used. Yeah. Next, I will go for. This is a sound XLR. This is 600. This is on 600 ohms cable. This is the female end and the male end. And as you probably noticed, you can connect them together. But yeah, this is proper Neutrik, which is what I would recommend, unless you're on a budget, in which I would recommend Stage Depot pre-made standard cables, which are pretty good. Which I've got some, in fact. Yeah, this is quite. Not sure what cable it is, but this is shielded microphone cable. Now you have this is exactly the same connectors. You'll notice. See, fit together. Even fit together like that. But the difference between this and this is the fact that this is 110 ohm cable, which means it's DMX cable. Apart from the fact it's got blue ends, which it doesn't have to have, it's exactly the same. But apart from the cable, which is, I said, 110 ohms, which means that you have less DMX reflections, which is very important. Yeah. Next, I've got, moving on to more passive speaker stuff. This is an NL2 Speakon, which is Yeah, you can see it's got the bit there. And then this is a power jack, as I call it, which is a jack for which is a thicker jack. It's gold plated there. You probably can't see that on camera, but it conducts a lot better. Again, it's similar to the one I used in the EPA again, but this is an NL2. You can also get NL4 and NL8. NL4 fits in an NL2 and vice versa, but an NL8 only fits in an NL8 socket because it's a bit bigger and different shape. Or it's still circular, but yeah. Yeah. Also, just one thing I haven't mentioned, on quite a lot of my cables I got these ties. I get these from Maplin. They're £3.45 for 10, I think. Check me on that one. Don't quote me on that one. Anyway, but they're really good because you can just coil the cable and then you don't have to use LX tape, which is this PVC insulation tape, which is extremely useful. Yeah, I always take this to a gig because, well, there's always going to be someone who wants to tape something. And you can also write on it with a Sharpie, which is like what I use for labelling, which is why there's some sticky marks on the bottom of my EPM8. Lose this. Okay, this is pretty standard to be honest, but this is from Sainsbury's and it's £5, it's 5 metres, and it's just a socket to plug, and I use it just so much because there's quite often when I just have not got a long enough kettle lead and I can just plug this in, don't have to use up a multi-socket like that. I can just use a single socket extension and it just gives it a nice lot of length. Yeah, they're very useful for lighting as well, especially if you're on a bar and you don't want lots of multi-sockets or extension reels. That's yeah. So that's fibre from Sainsbury's. And then finally, this is a 15-pin serial cable, technically. Yeah. And this is known as VGA cable, visual graphics array. It's used on computers, connecting between computers and projectors. Yeah, it's a bit like a jack. It's not extendable. You have to get a coupler to use it. But always, if you're buying VGA cable, make sure it's got ferrite cores, which are these things. They're very good because they stop interference, which is quite important, especially if you want to plug it into your TV, which is why I bought this one. Okay, I think it's the end of my video on useful things. Please comment, rate and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.